there was something that I heard from Jay-Z. I forget which album it was on, but I've been like holding to it steadfast. He said, I treat my last like my first, and my first like my last. And I think about that every time I'm putting together a project or doing something. Like I like to treat it as if, this might be my last book ever, and I want to treat it as if it's my first one, so that I put everything I have into it and just do my best to make it as great as possible. And I think that type of mentality has just helped me, just kind of disconnect from, I think in a positive way, disconnect from, all the likes and all the positive comments. And at the same time, don't get me wrong, I'm extremely grateful that people are connecting with what I'm writing. But personally, me, Diego, as an individual, like I try to be careful with, reading the comments, because I don't want to just, the last thing I want is to make my ego bigger, because that's just going to impede on my freedom.
I think about the correlations to this in relationship, because, in relationship, what happens usually unconsciously in relationship is there is one person who believes they're more complete, more resolved, more repaired, more healed. They got
Oof.
more of their poop in a
Mm-hmm.
group. And, in like other ways we might structure that, we would say like codependency. We have the one person who is maybe more anxiously attached. And then you have the other person who believes they're a problem. They believe that they're an issue. They believe that they're the ones who are at the deficit, need to read the book, need to go to therapy, need to do the thing. And when we come back and remove that hierarchy, which I think it's really beautiful just to think that the vulnerable extension of like, I don't know why I said that, or I'm sorry that I started this argument that way, or you're right that there is a hierarchy that gets dissolved in that. And it says like, hey, we're on the same team.
I wanted to add, I think, like literally right where you left off, like when you have that moment when vulnerability arises again and is open, and people are, apologizing for creating conflict, or apologizing for accepting the invitation of conflict and just like jumping into the fray with your own anger. I think there comes the opportunity for understanding. And I think that's like the most beautiful reframing that we can have when we're in a moment of conflict with our partner, is like, I literally don't know what you just perceived. Like, or why you got hurt, because I literally only know my perception. I only can experience my perception. So when, your partner gets upset or you get upset, I think literally taking turns and each of you explaining your perspective and trying to receive that perspective as selflessly as possible, without, and we're talking about giving your partner a perspective about yourself that is literally just about you, and not about, oh, like, this is what you were doing and blah, blah, blah. But it's more so like, this is how I felt when you did this, or this is how I felt when X, Y, and Z happened. And being able to explain things from your own view, and potentially, hopefully, having your partner be able to understand where you're coming from, and vice versa. I think, and a lot of times that, my wife and I have practiced this, it just makes it so much easier to just let it go, because then I see her perspective and she sees my perspective. We're both like, oh, wow, that's, so sorry that happened. And then it makes it a lot easier to just move forward from there. I think that's been like one of the most powerful practices that we've put into play over the last few years. And I think, what was it, Thich Nhat Hanh, who said like, love is understanding. And I really, really believe that.